Whoa, this is deep. Australia's most decorated soldier has been arrested over war crimes in Afghanistan.
Today's video is all about how the Liberal government treats whistleblowers. David McBride, he was an army lawyer stationed in Afghanistan. He leaked details including 10 illegal killings of unarmed men and children. Murderers are walking free, and a man is facing life in prison from his own government for reporting murders which he is legally required to report.
He's talking to an absolute fucking psychopath who's responsible for multiple mass graves throughout the Middle East.
This is Scott Jones. As a nickname, Scojo. He was in Australia's 2nd Commando Regiment where he was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. For a while, Scojo ran an Instagram page and a podcast producing amazing content of war crimes.
Sorry about that, we had some short interruptions. A contractor showing up to do some stuff in my bathroom. Busy times, guys. But anyway, back to regular transmissions. I forgot what I was talking about, but it was probably something important. Not that important if I've forgotten though.
Yeah, fuck oath, cob loaf. Hang on a second though. Yeah, you're good.
Even without the Prt2 report, it's been more than well documented how soldiers would lie to investigators about killings with complete impunity. The Four Corners Report Killing Field aired helmet camera footage of an unarmed Afghan farmer killed at point-blank range by an Australian soldier. It then revealed afterwards that soldiers told investigators that the Afghan was shot 15 to 20 metres away and was holding an ICOM radio, just like the tattoo. Now, to be clear, that Four Corners wasn't on Scojo, he wasn't in the SAS, and also, as if he's that tall. But his podcast does again give an insight into how willing to mislead legal investigators about killings Australian soldiers were. Perhaps one of the most stunning admissions in Scojo's content comes from his mate, Machine Gun Dave. And it's the story of how he got that nickname. And I could retell it, but as much as we're laughing at Scojo, well, yeah, that's the point. Let's just listen to Scojo and his mate because they are very funny. This particular story, or bedtime worry as Scojo colourfully puts them, begins with Dave telling Scojo how he was setting up a VCP for a KLE. VCP means Vehicle Control Program and KLE means Key Leader Engagement, like meeting. So in plain English, making sure vehicles don't get too close to a meeting. Yeah, get used to it. In the military, they love useless acronyms. Anyway, I'll let the boys take it from here.
So what were you looking to stop? Like why were you stopping traffic on that road?
Basically, just to stop any movement coming into that area where the KLE was being held.
Yep.
So I don't even have a clue of what they were fucking talking about in this KLE.
Yeah.
But probably about 20 minutes into the VCP, round the corner comes this bloody little postie bike, and a couple of blokes on it.
Yeah. So you're laying down on your guts with the gun, and you're facing down this road. You look up, there's nothing else going on. You've got a KLE off behind you, and all you can see is a potential, threat, or it could be anyone on a bike. And a lot of Afghanis, especially the Taliban, are known to use motorbikes to get around, to scoot around the village. And you see them come down the road towards you.
Yeah, that's right.
See why we hide these guys? They're cunning intelligence. Taliban sometimes ride motorbikes. Can you see why these guys are our special forces?
People coming around the corner, especially on a fucking motorbike, they wouldn't have been able to see us in time because obviously Australian diggers, mate, were good at cam concealment, so
fucking oath.
Blending in.
So you wanna tell them, hey, you can't come past this point or we'll shoot you, but you don't want to make it obvious not to go past a certain point. It's kind of like that yellow line shit. Certain places, borders around Gaza where, if Palestinians walk past, then they get blown up or fucking murdered or run over by a bulldozer, but they're not told where the yellow line is, and sometimes that yellow line changes, and sometimes it's a bit bigger than... This is, hey mate, don't break the fucking law. Okay, what's the law? Find out. So you're actively saying we were hiding ourselves, hiding the threat, so when they approached the threat without knowing that there was a threat, the threat opened up because they should have known that there was a threat. Let's fucking make that make sense, the kid.
So we were yelling out to this cunt to fucking stop. Both of them were on the bike, fucking and they were hammering it and not even showing signs of slowing down. My first thought was, okay, there's going to be fucking vehicle-borne ID here, and we're gonna fucking cop it.
Which is very common.
Yeah, well, our 2IC was on the 2007 trip, and there was a lot of vehicle-borne IEDs during that trip for them, especially in TK. And And he was always saying, be on the lookout for fucking VBIEDs, cunt.
Oh, yep, very common, yep. See, they're putting it together. Taliban plus motorbikes, plus in wars there are sometimes bombs. A deadly equation. Are you doing the maths? These boys are.
So anyway, this bloke on a motorbike, and he fucking hit another gear, like he was changing gears up, not down. And yeah, got to probably within 25, 30 metres. So he'd gone well and truly over the free fire line, which is supposed to be about 50 metres.
So you're giving him the benefit of the doubt because at that range, a V-bit's going to definitely kill you and take you out of the fight.
Yeah, well, that's it. I was just sitting off the road, probably a couple of metres off the road in this little ditch where they use off the aqueducts to get all their water lines and stuff. So it was a small ditch. Anyway, gave in 2 bursts of the best. And
So where are you aiming at this point?
Mate, all through training, they're like, oh, you got to...
If the Taliban during that time made an order, hey, all Taliban, let it be known, if any Western soldiers, UK, America, Australia, New Zealand, if any of them cross this line on the road, we open fire. And then they didn't tell any of these Western soldiers, and they kept on walking across this line and getting fucking murdered, you'd probably be like, why the fuck? Why didn't you tell us that this was the rule? This is the don't cross this line point.
Disable the vehicle. Got to disable the vehicle first. And comes on a postie bike, so if I'm disarming the vehicle, I'm aiming at centre of scene mass.
100%,
And, being on the gun, if anyone's worked a gun before, they obviously fire upwards if you've got a good grip on it. And basically just ripped him up and took half his head off. And the bloke behind him copped the rounds that went straight through him.
Yep.
And
skewered him.
Yeah, mate. It was the old enfilade fire, but real close, so
beautiful.
Flayed fire, but real close, so he went down like a sack of shit, and the bloke on the back, the bloke on the front, obviously had half his head gone, so he was out.
Yeah,
he'd gone to Allah, and the bloke on the back started yelling out "Policia, policia," or whatever the fuck whatever their word for police was, but that's what he was trying to yell out. And we're like, fuck. We knew at that stage we just hit 2 cops.
So Machine Gun Dave had just machine gunned down Afghan police officers. People ostensibly on our side. And look, I know mistakes happen in war. They could have been in genuine fear of their lives, seeing something as spooky as a fast motorcycle with 2 people on it. Yeah, I'm sure if it was a fucking suicide bomber, the Taliban would make sure that there's 2. Because wasting 1 life isn't enough. 72 virgins is too much for 1 man, apparently. Just chuck someone on the back for absolutely no reason. I guess the proverb 2 birds with 1 stone doesn't exist in Afghanistan, and they were trying to invent it. 2 guys, 1 bite. You really nailed it, Scojo. Okay, even with this, I'll admit, all's fair in love and war. Could have been a genuine mistake, but what Machine Gun Dave admits to next is quite amazing.
But are they dressed in police uniform?
According to the official report, they were not.
Okay, so according to the official report, the report the military police do to see if a killing was, legal. The men weren't in police uniforms. But listen to this next part.
You're a digger. You were trying to do the best job that you could to protect your mates, and it was your life or theirs in your mind, and you made a decision, and you backed yourself, and you're sitting in front of an ADFAS team being investigated. What are your chain of command doing at that point? Are they just hanging you out to dry, or did you have senior dudes in there helping you and providing you support?
Well, we came together at the start. I thought we were going to get thrown under the bus with the whole "you should have used the vent there" fucking call. I thought we were going to get thrown under the bus, but the guys pulled together because we knew we were going to go back for this investigation, and it was basically everyone write down their story, and this is what happened, and it basically was what happened.
Yeah.
Besides the uniform thing, because they clearly were wearing uniforms after the fact, but you can't tell.
Wait, they were wearing uniforms after the fact? So you're telling me that these bodies just got up, got dressed into their uniforms and laid back down with half his fucking head missing? Is that what you're telling me? So they weren't in uniform before you fucking shot them, but somehow and miraculously after you peppered them with bullets, that's when they started wearing their fucking uniform? Are you joking me?
Because their uniforms look just exactly like their normal clothes, just a fucking uniformed colour.
Yeah.
So
it's not like
that
New South Wales police uniform where it's bright blue and everyone looks the same in its uniform. You got to do
normal. Newsflash, dipshit. not all countries have the same fucking uniforms when it comes to their polices. Guess what? Just like their military. Did you look at a US uniform and go, oh fuck, that's unfamiliar to me? I've seen a few hunters walking around with that kind of camouflage, so they must be just random Afghani fucking hunters. Let's shoot them. No, you don't just go, oh, it looks like normal clothing, it's your fault. What the fuck? That is... Oh, no, you shouldn't have walked down that alleyway wearing that short skirt. The fuck? How are you going to blame the guy you shot in the fucking head?
Clothes, but just dark green.
That's right. And one dude's got white shoes on, the other dude's got his flip-flops on.
Exactly, and they had flip-flops on.
Yeah.
So, you took the time to see their shoes, make a calculation that if he's wearing jandals, put a fucking bullet in his head, but you couldn't make the quick calculation for you to be able to go, huh, that kind of looks like a police uniform that I was introduced to a few times. Because over there, not only do they give you a whole fucking, like, hey guys, by the way, this is what the army here looks like. This is what the police here looks like. Do not shoot these people. That's one of the first things that you fucking learn when going and invading a foreign nation is, hey, these spots here are off limits. They took those limits and fucking threw them out the window. So either you're absolutely fucking stupid, you are the dumbest human being on fucking earth, and no wonder you were infantry, or, oh fuck, he's a machine gunner, there is no or.
Yeah, so we basically stuck with each other, and I think a lot of the senior... like the Secos and that, came to our rescue, so to speak, by basically saying, okay, we need to stick together during this.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? The Afghan cops he shot were in uniform. Yet everyone there that day got together, conspired to lie to the Australian Defence Force Investigative Service, ADFIS, about the men wearing uniform to, avoid accountability for what at best was a fatal mistake, and at worst, well, we don't know what it was at worst because the results of the investigation into the incident we now know were based on lies.
The thing is, right, if they had just told the truth, yeah, these guys were in uniform, it was split-second decisions, I fucked up, I made a mistake, I didn't mean to shoot these police officers, it wasn't on my intention, it was an honest mistake. Alright, then sweet, no charges, all good, because that's how the fucking law works. The Geneva Convention outlines, hey, look, mistakes happen during war, these are heightened environments, they're stressful environments, you have to make split-second decisions. Sometimes you can fuck up and make a mistake, miscalculate. There's safeties and outlines for those things. And a proper investigation would show whether or not you shot with intent, knowing that they were police officers, knowing what you were about to do. That is what constitutes a war crime, is whether you did it with the intent. Now, you have lied and made it so that you look like you intended to kill those people and now lied to cover it up. You intended to kill police officers and lied to cover it up. If it was an honest mistake, you fucking stick to the honesty. If you go and lie about it, it's going to make you look fucking worse when the truth actually comes out.
You might be thinking, that's not even that shocking, but what is shocking is publicly admitting that on a podcast that you and your team lied to the
and monetizing it, trying to make money off of it.
Commonwealth about the time you killed a cop. That's pretty astounding, right? To have the confidence that the Australian Defence Force cares so little about the conduct of its troops overseas that you can just say, yeah, you know that time I shot 2 cops that we were allied with, creating a mini international incident and forcing my platoon out of the Baluchi Valley?
During the conduct of that vehicle checkpoint, a motorcycle carrying 2 individuals failed to stop at that checkpoint. That motorcycle was then engaged, killing 1 individual and wounding another.
The Australian Army said at the time that when the troops opened fire, the men on the motorbike were not wearing their uniforms and did not identify themselves as Afghan police or ANP.
Yeah, that's correct, but that was not identified at all prior to the engagement. They were on a motorcycle, not a Afghan National Police vehicle, and it was only after the engagement that they were then identified by other police that they were part of the ANP.
Yeah, we all conspired and lied to Australian military police about that one. Fuck. These boys are loose. And did anything happen in the end? Was anyone punished for what even then they knew was a massive mistake?
Nothing happened to us besides we never did a VCP for the rest of the trip after that.
Yeah.
Which is good because VCPs are boring as batshit.
Just didn't have to do the boring vehicle control jobs anymore. Yeah, Davey and the boys get a bit too bored on those jobs, so just give them the jobs where they drop cunts. But perhaps the most terrifying thing in this entire pod is the message Scojo and Dave deliver at the end.
It's okay to go with your gut feeling and pump some guns if you need to.
Yeah, fucking oath. If you got to pull the trigger. Don't be scared, boys. Because your chain of command will always back you.
Even the shit ones.
Do what you want Chain of command will always back you. Now you can see the reason we had an issue with war crimes. And look, I do want to make this clear. If there wasn't the admission about lying, I might not have even highlighted this part. I don't want to shame veterans about killings they could already feel guilty about. We know war is hell. Well, for most.
But there is no guilt with that one. He's sitting there boasting about it. His nickname, Machine Gun Dave, or whatever, is named after that moment. It's a proud moment for him. It's a I became a man moment. It's not a, oh fuck, I need to reflect on the fact that I fucked up and made a mistake. No, because people don't do that when they're not held accountable for their fucking actions.
No, war's sick. It's the boring VCPs that are hell. But the absolute disdain Scojo and Machine Gun Dave show for the Afghan people over the course of this pod, alongside the admission about misleading adfers, I mean, it makes them more than fair game for ridicule. After all, Scojo loves dark humour. He was the platoon clown. Listen to this corker.
I'm pretty sure there's a few laws around having ISIS flags in your position. I'm pretty sure there's a few laws about that. Might have to look into that though, because Scojo, I don't know what's worse. The fact that you find this fucking funny, but I don't know. There's some worse crimes than owning that fucking flag, and I think Scojo putting his ass out on the fucking internet is one of them. I mean, shit, I'm gonna meme the fuck out of this. I'm gonna screenshot this, and I'm gonna have, like, you know, the text above, like, when you're talking war crimes with the boys, and he slaps your ass, when Machine Gun Dave asks where to stick the barrel, fuck, I'm gonna meme this so hard. I'm gonna, like, this is 5 years ago, but I'm gonna bring it back.
Scojo loves dark humour. He was the platoon clown. Listen to this corker.
Although I had a Green Beret and I had the trust of the dudes that I was with, I was actually just stoked to be following them around like a little kid, like sort of Richie Beno, just commentating over the radio every time they shot someone. Great shot. Yeah, it's marvellous, marvellous. Oh, that's 2 from 2, Jono. That's 2 from 2. And just absolutely taking the piss. Just providing light comedic relief to high stress situations where dudes are fucking peaking. And I just saw my mate shot a dude's fucking head off, and then that dude's children have run out of the compound and are literally picking up his brain off the ground and scooping it into their dad's skull to try and revive him, because naturally Afghan kids don't really have a concept of sort of medical science, and that was probably one of the wildest things that I've ever sort of been in the vicinity of seeing.
Newsflash. If you walk into any Western country, or any fucking country, blow the brains out of a person in front of children, they're most likely not gonna know, yeah, nah, I'm gonna need a fucking surgeon and a couple of prayers to be able to fix this fucking thing. Modern medicine? They're not very fucking smart, talking as if they're cavemen. This is what I mean about the desensitization to these people and the, you know, demoralizing these people. And it's the same thing with Israel calling Palestinians animals and all of this shit, right? Is to make you feel like that they are worth nothing, that their life is less than yours, that their being is less than yours. And this is a disgusting fucking belief system.
You know, that dude was running with an AK to try and flank us, but he didn't see the mortars team was down in the creek line just fucking waiting there tactically with good cam and concealment. So my mate shot him in the head and he kind of sardined himself into the ground, and yeah, his kids run out and is literally scooping his brains off the ground and then slapping them back into his skull, trying to revive him.
This actually makes me fucking
while
mad.
This is all going on, and
this actually makes me mad. This, like, genuinely, like, pisses me off. I get frustrated with this.
There's a high stress kind of situation. The only thing that could have made that sort of whole crazy situation sort of better was a fucking cheeky joke, and you know, naturally Scojo comes through with a cheeky you know, little comment that makes everyone giggle. And someone said, you know, that was the most hectic thing I've ever seen in my life. And I said, well, the part where the kids were playing fucking sandcastles with their dad's brains, that just made it so much better. And fucking shit, you know, and if that's all my job was and that's all I had to do was just to keep the boys happy, and then now post-service in my discharge little world,
I want to get that soundbite. I want to clip that, get this photo, get that soundbite. If my job is just to keep the boys happy, well, I've done a good job. I've done it right. Fucking looks like you're keeping a few boys happy there, you fucking home. And here's the thing, right? If you're getting upset at me calling that guy a fucking home, then you got to go and do some reassessments, right? Because I 100% believe in bullying people. It teaches you a bit of fucking tenacity, teaches you to fucking harden up. And Christ almighty, if people bullied the fuck out of Scojo more, maybe he would have fucking thought differently about his career choices.
Fucking shit, you know? And if that's all my job was, and that's all I had to do was just to keep the boys happy, and then now post-service in my discharge little world, if that's all I have to do to keep dudes from fucking topping themselves or crying into their beers every night because...
Nah, you know what? Fuck 'em. Controversial opinion. Pedophiles, people who have done disgusting things to children, whether it be abuse, physical, mental, emotional, or murdered children, and war criminals, war crimes, fuck it. Get yourself really, really sloshed. Find yourself a fucking rope. I'm not going to continue. But there are certain people that you don't try and save, that are not going to rehabilitate. And I'm saying right now, veterans, my heart's with you. Those who have gone and fought for your country, being left behind by your country, and sacrificed everything. You guys have it hard. You guys were put in a position that you had basically no choice, and you were trying to do the right thing. But if you want to afterwards joke about the fact that you blew open somebody's brains and his kids came out and tried to scoop them back up, you know what? Who's stopping those kids from killing themselves? While you're sitting here talking about, oh, well, I'm going to joke about the fucking things that we did and we seen and everything because I don't want these veterans going and killing themselves. What about those kids that you fucking blew the father's brains out of and they were playing fucking sandcastles, as you put it? So you want to tell me that these veterans who have gone there and caused trauma to a whole fucking generation of people, done more damage than anything, are worth more to save than these kids who have gone through fucking hell, and probably only thing that they know is some people came to my country, destroyed my fucking home, took away my family, murdered my father in front of me, and those kids, you don't want to worry about their mental health? Get fucked. You know what? Actually, KYS, I don't care if I get fucking shadow banned straight away. I don't care if I get loads of hate on the internet, but straight up, you do shit to kids, fucking yourself.
They didn't acquire any other skills and they just shut their blinds every night and say, oh, I used to be an operator and you need to respect me and fucking give me free shit because I earned it. Well, yeah, you did, bro, but you also sort of limited yourself. So if I can give those boys a cheeky giggle and remind them of the good times and the fun stories through, you know, bedtime worries, then I'm all fucking...
The good times and the fun stories. Traumatizing children, committing war crimes. There is good ways to talk about this shit. I used to watch the Unsubscribed podcast. Bunch of veterans, Second Amendment lovers, you know, somewhat conservative men. And they talked about their experiences. They advocate for the mental health of veterans. They advocate for the support of veterans who have come back traumatized. One thing that they do not do is sit there and joke about or fucking celebrate war crimes. One of my favorite stories from one of these guys, Veteran with a Sign, was it's called The Donkey Story, and I'm not going to tell the whole thing because, you know, go and watch his video, because as much as I don't like those guys anymore because of our political differences, because of some of the things that they promote, you know, I'm not a fan of theirs anymore, but I'm still not going to take away from their bread and butter. Go and watch the video. YouTube The Donkey Story. But things like that, where a comical story about two guys going out in the desert and getting it on with a donkey, you know, that shit's funny. Joke about that shit, right? If your way of coping with things or trying to help other people cope about things is going and making jokes about the worst of times, about the most traumatizing shit, about the most horrible shit, you are a fucking broken human and you need psychological help or a lobotomy. Because at the end of the day, there will be some good times within that era of your life that you'll be able to talk about. You know, little things. Remember that one time when fucking Rah fell off the top of the Humvee and fucking broke his ankle? You don't go, oh, remember that time that those kids were playing sandcastles with their father's brains? That's fucked up. You, sir, deserve the worst shit. I hope you get testicular cancer that spreads to your prostate and makes it so that you cannot walk more than 3 meters without having the most excruciating pain all the way up your asshole through to your fucking tongue.
For it, so hope you enjoyed it, cunts.
What the fuck is this guy? Psychopath Phil Olivetti. Instead of the talk about a rough day at work...
It's at times like that you don't often think of funny things to say, but I did. And I turned to the rescue workers and I said...
The part where the kids were playing fucking sandcastles with their dad's brains.
That was referring to the spending the time up there being pretty rough.
That is the greatest comparison I've made on this channel, apart from the following. Vorsh and George Takei, same vibe. Again, You might think this is just a digger making jest of a terrible situation they were forced into. Well, no. Scojo is a special breed. In other pods, he talks about desperately wanting to go to war just for the violence. I mean, he signed off one of his pods with.
So go out there, pour yourself a Milo, enjoy life, and potentially go over to Ukraine and fucking fight for the Ukrainian people, not because you believe in their cause, but because you like violence, and that's okay.
So there's been an investigation into war.
So, if you can promote, go and join the Ukrainian armed forces to go and fight against Russia just because you like violence, change one word. Change one word. Don't specifically say go and join Ukraine. Say go and join an armed force. Then someone might interpret that as, oh, go and join ISIS or go and join Hamas just because of the violence. You would be arrested really quickly for terrorism charges. So why can we say that? Why can we openly promote, go and join the Ukraine armed forces, the Foreign Legion, so that you can go and blow some brains out of some fucking Russians? Change a few words. It is go and join ISIS so that you can go and blow a few brains out of American forces. This is hypocrisy through and through.
Crimes committed by the ADF in Afghanistan. The investigation found credible evidence of war crimes. There are videos of war crimes. You have soldiers on Insta with tattoos celebrating war crimes. Podcasts openly discussing lying about killing 2 investigators. So do you have any prosecutions of the war criminals? Nah. But there has been one prosecution of an Afghan veteran, David McBride, for war crimes. Well, for leaking evidence of war crimes to the media after his internal complaints went nowhere. First mistake, Dave. If you wanted to air allegations of war crimes and not face prosecution, you should have gone on Time Warries with your boy Scojo. I've made many videos detailing the plight of David McBride. It's honestly astounding and scary that his prosecution is still ongoing.
See, but that's the thing, right? It's not about what you talk about, it's how you talk about it. Right? You can talk about Zionism and Israel's genocide and incursion into an occupation of Palestinian land. If you say it in a positive way, like, oh, I support this, well, Palantir and fucking everything isn't going to wipe you off the face of the internet and shadow ban you from TikTok. But if you go and say anything in terms of criticism of those war crimes, of those occupations, and of the fucking genocide, well, then instantly you're fucked in the ass and you could go to jail for it. You can't even say from the river to the sea in New South Wales. Think about that. For almost half of Australia, you cannot say from the river to the sea. And the most ironic fucking thing is there is a lyric from a famous Australian musician where one of his lyrics is from the river to the sea. He wasn't meaning it for Palestine, from my understanding. But now you can't sing along to an Australian classic song because of the lyrics. Is this guy going to go to prison because of the new law? Because in one of his songs a few years ago he said from the river to the sea? Is he going to be charged for that now? I would like to see that happen because that is the fair implementation of the law. You're going to make a law banning a certain phrase or a certain word, you best believe that you're going to go and uphold that law for everyone. For example, if we had a Zionist standing there with a sign saying, Israel will hold and take everything from the river to the sea, would that be arrest worthy? If it's in support of genociding anybody in that area from the river to the sea, then fucking so be it, say it all you want. But if it's in support of freeing the people from the river to the sea, well, you best believe that you'll be hiring a lawyer. Now, my thing is, I would hold a sign outside of Parliament or outside of any fucking governmental building with that sign. And when they arrest me, the only thing you'll hear me screaming 24/7 until my court date and even up until the moment when I'm staring at the judge is from the river to the sea. That's all I'm going to say. From the river to the sea. Free Palestine. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. I will stand in front of the judge. Have you got anything to say? From the river to the sea. How do you plead? From the river to the sea. All of it. Fuck with me. Don't take away my free speech. I don't care if I'm American or not. I don't care if I live in New Zealand, fucking Australia, America. I don't care if I'm in the Middle East. I ain't gonna let anybody impede on the things that I want to fucking say. And I'll stand by that. I have more freedom walking around in North Korea saying fucking free Palestine, and I've got more ability to do that than I do to fucking walk around with a fucking kafir.
Recommend these videos. One, because there is a complete lack of press on this topic. The ABC, the outlet that first published the McBride leaks, didn't even go.
Sorry, another little point on that too. Everyone wants to go on about, oh, if you stand in the Red Square in Russia and you try to say something or protest or whatever, you get arrested. Okay, but you call that evil? You call that dictatorship? You call, that's communism, that's why it's always failing, rah. They're doing it here, motherfucker. They have just made a law stopping you from saying a certain fucking phrase. They are doing the same shit, so if it's evil for them to do, why is it not evil for you to do? Rules for thee, but not for me?
Trial, and 2, because the presenter is effortlessly cool. No homo. Well, just a little. But today I'm going to do what the Australian Defence Force clearly could not: make Scojo useful for once. Yeah, you've got a job that will actually help people today, Scojo. Not just shooting cunts and planting throwdowns in a war that is some a bit like...
You're going to be an example.
Because if you, after tanking our economies and draining us of resources, we would ultimately lose. Scojo, you're going to help make my argument as to why McBride's charges are an absolute affront to the rule of law in this country. Essentially, McBride's case comes down to if it was in the public interest to leak to the ABC, another government body, mind you, documents pertaining to investigation of war crimes. In other videos, I think I've outlined pretty well that yes, it was in the public interest. I think it's pretty self-evident. But where Scojo and his mates become very useful is that they serve to highlight how McBride's prosecution is a complete aberration on the part of the Federal Police, Australian Defence Force, and Director of Public Prosecutions. Because what he leaked is so banal in comparison to what soldiers like Scojo and others chuck up on social media all the time. I mean, we just listened to a guy admit to an entire platoon conspiring to lie to military police. I have to repeat it. Scojo got a tattoo of war crimes. His Instagram was helmet cam footage galore, and Scojo is far from the only soldier loose with material gathered from the war. In fact, I've confirmed that SAS soldiers make cool little clips to share around, clips that include classified Australian signals intelligence.
So what's really hard for me watching this shit now is when I was 16, 17, I was watching shit like this thinking, fuck yeah, that's cool. Yeah, look at that, that's awesome, like, you know. But now I look at it, it just makes me sad. Like, it makes me sick to my stomach. Like, I want to vomit. Like, I grew up in an era of Lively, really young when it was starting to phase out, but I still seen the tail end of it, and it desensitized the fuck out of me. And now I look at this shit and, like, I just think of the images that I've seen from Gaza, the atrocities that I'm seeing for the last like 3 years. It makes me sick to my stomach. And it's like, how could I ever think that this was cool? How does anybody, like, I don't know how. Well, I do know how because, like, you know, I was a part of that where I was like, yeah, this is fucking cool, yeah, hoorah. But now I'm like, it's so fucked up.
See this? Says secret, and rightfully so. This is pretty classified shit, and much more hot material than anything McBride leaked. These videos contain the coordinates of where an Apache chopper was when it was dropping cunts. And this footage is just floating around like they're my nudes. Look at you fucking perverts scrambling to Google my nudes. Yeah, I'm talking to you.
How'd you know, Jordy? Cameras in my house.
You spooks. You prosecute David for leaking evidence of war crimes, and yet you immediately jump to access actually sensitive material. For shame. One of the montages even appears to have footage from an American Apache helicopter shooting people. Look, I don't know if that footage is classified or not, but it kind of seems like something that shouldn't be floating around. Are the soldiers that are playing around with signals intelligence like its funniest home videos getting prosecuted for what McBride is, unlawfully disclosing a Commonwealth document, or unlawfully giving or obtaining information as to defences? Or are these soldiers being prosecuted for theft of Commonwealth property? Fuck no. Because these videos, unlike McBride's material, haven't embarrassed the top brass of the Australian military. Until perhaps now. And proved how they abdicated their basic responsibilities as they oversaw and essentially permitted war crimes in Afghanistan. After all, as Scojo and Machine Gun Dave say,
your chain of command will always back you.
Shame that doesn't go for McBride. His prosecution isn't about security. You can leak material that's far more damaging to national security than a few docs outlining war crimes, i.e. exact fucking coordinates and strategy of multiple chopper attacks. McBride's prosecution is a Christian Porter era exercise in retribution, and these clips really serve to demonstrate that fact beyond a shadow of a doubt. They highlight what an aberration from the norm McBride's prosecution is. It is extremely common practice for Australian soldiers to be loose with material, way more sensitive than what McBride leaked. It's common practice apparently for them to boast about breaking the law, but there's only been one prosecution. If spooks in the Australian government want to maintain even a shred of credibility, they will either drop McBride's prosecution immediately, or they will trawl through Instagram and prosecute dozens more soldiers for leaking worse material that is in no way in the public interest and leaked for less noble causes, i.e., 3 kills in a row. Schmitty, you've unlocked the UAV. McBride's case is going to trial this year. The government has already drained him of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he really needs 150k just for the chance to stay out of prison. And look, you could think this case is about a single whistleblower. It's not. It's about the institutions of Australia, and if we're going to let them become so infested with self-serving careerists that they can chuck a man in for exposing murder, whilst letting the murderers keep their medals whilst they publicly boast about murdering, McBride going to prison will represent...
Now, that's what I mean about the desensitizing, right? Because if this guy were to end up, spending a lot of time in prison for coming out and speaking out, that's going to discourage anyone else from coming out and speaking out. And then who's going to hold anyone accountable to the Geneva Conventions? Because at the end of the day, let's say right now with Iran, there's some war crimes happening, and Iran goes after the fact, after this whole thing ends, and goes, hey, by the way, there were some war crimes committed. We'll investigate. These investigations with the ICJ, the International Criminal Court, like all that shit, none of that shit gets investigated if it's a Western country, if it's a Western ally, if there's massive support from, World Banks, NATO, fucking UN. I mean, fuck. Israel was able to, with the IDF, Israel's attack on UNRWA was central to its genocide of the Palestinians. This is what I've been saying, is they don't care about international law. They don't care about institutions or morality and this, we're the most moral army and all this shit. So nothing is getting done about it. Israel's not being held accountable for this stuff. Just like America was never held accountable for Vietnam. Any of the shit that they put the Cubans through for the last how many decades. The stuff with Venezuela, with Maduro. This shit is systematic. This shit needs to stop. And at the end of the day, we're the only ones who can stop it. We need to fucking make some noise.
Represent a massive degradation in the rule of law in this country, but it will also represent something bigger, something I don't think anyone can really grasp at the moment, and that is scary. So donate. McBride needs to be able to afford to defend himself. The future of our country is at stake. I would offer to give the ad rev from this video to him, but as you could probably tell, it's not going to get any ad rev. So for that reason, make sure you donate. I'm off the hook.